get to that safe location. A small interior room, a basement is best, but anywhere where you can get away from windows is going to be the best place to be. We'll show you where that possible rotation is right now. You can see on the southwestern part of that tornado warning. These storms are moving very quickly, moving off to the north and east around 55 to 60 miles per hour. That's why it's critical that you get in that safe space right now, even if the storm hasn't started to move through your area. Right now, just to the south and west of Amosville, that is where we have that potential rotation. I am going to put on another one of our radar products here that we use to show us where we have possible spin in the atmosphere. This is called a velocity product. It shows us which direction the wind is blowing in rotation to a radar. And again, not picking up on a great signal right now, so I'm going to get you back to that more traditional view of radar. But I do think that if there is potential rotation, if that wind is spinning enough to produce a funnel cloud, it would be right in the location there just to the south and west of Amosville. And you can see again just how quickly these storms have kind of come into play. So again, this tornado warning is within that broader severe thunderstorm warning, but it's the tornado warned area that we are most concerned with right now until 11 o'clock this morning. Again, Culpeper, Fauquier, and Rappahannock County. If you are in the area, make sure you are seeking that safe location. So we'll time out when you can expect this storm to move into your neighborhood. If you have loved ones in the area, call them, check in, make sure everyone is getting to that safe space, because these storms are moving very quickly. That is good news, and that they will be out of here quickly, but bad news and that it does lessen that time to prepare and get to that safe space. So again, moving off to the north and east around 55 to 60 miles per hour, that would put this storm in Amosville in just about 2 minutes, at 10:40, into Crest Hill by 10:43, into Jeffersonton closer to 10:45, near Marshall, Virginia around 10:54, into Upperville if this storm holds together right around the time that this alert would expire at 10:59. So again, we'll give you the wider perspective here. This is the first of several rounds of severe weather that we'll be tracking throughout the day today. And outside of that tornado warned area is also a severe thunderstorm warning that does include more of northern Virginia. And we don't want to ignore that, because these storms are packing really powerful wind. Those are going to be our greatest threats throughout the day today. Not only isolated tornadoes, which there is an elevated atmosphere for, but also potentially dangerous straight line winds, winds that could gust anywhere from 70 to even 80 miles per hour. So you can see again within this severe thunderstorm warned area, we're seeing some of those signatures that could indicate some damaging wind, even if it is not rotating. Right now, the strongest part of that storm over parts of Front Royal. This extends down parts of 522. So we'll give you a closer look at, again, where we're seeing not only the tornado warning, but also that potentially damaging wind. This just cleared out of Sperryville, Culpeper right on the edge of it, but this is going to head into Warrenton here. I would say in just about 10 to 20 minutes. Marshall, again, you're closer to the 11 o'clock time frame, into Upperville around a similar time. This is no doubt causing issues along I-66, where we have that heavy rain, thunder, and lightning. But the biggest concern with these storms today is going to be the wind. We've got a lot of spin in the atmosphere, that changing wind speed and direction with height. So as any storm develops, it is going to pack the potential to have that rotation. So I do want to zoom in a little bit closer, get you street level of where we are seeing possible rotation right now as it approaches Amosville. You can see just in the past few radar scans just how quickly these storms are moving. So over by Hackley's Crossroad, that's where the strongest part of this now tornado warned storm is in effect. Toward Amosville into Laurel Mills, right along 211 is where we're seeing the worst of this storm right now. But as these storms progress so quickly off to the north and east, it is critical that if you're in Crest Hill, Cliff Mills, Cond, over near Vernon Mills, that you also are finding that safe location. Again, a small interior room away from windows. A basement is your best bet. You can turn up the volume on your TV so you can still hear us as you get to that safe space, or stream us anytime on our WUSA9 app. We'll be talking you through these storms not only for this tornado warning, but as we head throughout the day, we're going to continue to see these isolated strong to severe storms anytime between about now and 8 o'clock. We have another round of storms heading our way later this evening. If you are in Marshall over by the Plains, you also are within this tornado warning until 11 a.m. a.m., Delaplane and Upperville. I would also seek that safe location. So we'll give you a wider view because, again, this is the main storm we're watching right now, but we've got a lot more storms on the way as we head throughout the next several hours. This is just the tornado warning that is in effect, again, until 11 o'clock for parts of Culpeper, Rappahannock, and Fauquier County. But we do have that larger severe thunderstorm warning that encompasses more of northern Virginia. You can see just to the south of Winchester, that is still a powerful storm. Perhaps not seeing rotating wind, but potential straight line wind between 70 and 80 miles per hour. So we'll get you street level there through that part of the storm as well. Just to the south of Winchester, along 522, just starting to push to the east of Stevens City. This is right along 340 as well. If any of these areas sound familiar, if you have loved ones in the area, again, make sure you are checking in. Even if there's not a tornado warning in place today and you have a severe thunderstorm warning, I would treat that just as seriously because, again, we're talking about winds that could gust 70 to possibly 80 miles per hour. That is enough to bring down significant tree damage, cause power outages. Today is a day where you want to keep your devices charged just in case. Right along 55, we're seeing some of this really strong wind. Right along 522 over by Washington, you can see that cluster of thunder and lightning, always an indication that storms are strengthening or strong. But right now, that tornado warning, you can see just how quickly this is moving off to the north and east. I think this storm is actually going to be out of the warned area before we even get to the 11 o'clock time frame. So we'll have to see if the National Weather Service does extend that tornado warning a little farther off to the north, perhaps to include parts of Loudoun County, but still a powerful storm near Amosville. That is where we are under the warning, but Catalpa, you are also under this severe thunderstorm warning. So here's the wide perspective on radar. Again, our only alerts we have right now are the tornado warning for parts of Culpeper, Fauquier, and Rappahannock County, but that severe thunderstorm warning encompassing the areas on either side of that warning. We're also keeping an eye on our friends down into southern Maryland. Nothing in terms of strong or severe storms, but you are starting to see some of those heavier downpours develop down into parts of southern Charles County, St. Mary's County, over into Calvert County. There's nothing in that area that is standing out to me as suspicious as needing to potentially seek that safe location. The biggest concern right now is that tornado warned area. So I'll time it out again for you here because these storms are moving just so quickly. So again, if you are in the area, if you got that alert on your phone that there is a tornado warning, you need to make sure you are getting in that safe location. Right now, this is the area I am most concerned with, just to the north of Amosville. In fact, before I time it out for you, I'm going to take you street level here and see if we can get you some better locations of where the strongest part of this storm is right now as it continues to cross counties here, Crest Hill and Crest Hill Road. Again, this is where we potentially have rotation within this storm, enough of a signature that the National Weather Service has issued that tornado warning that it looks like perhaps, no, they did not cancel it. Okay, so that is still in effect until 11 o'clock this morning. But it's really where you see that cluster of lightning. Again, always a sign that storms are strong and strengthening. So right around the Amosville area is where we are most concerned with right now. But let's track this out for you as this continues to pull off to the north and east around 55 to 60 miles per hour. And again, that will be the case with these storms throughout the day today. They are going to fly through quickly. That's why it's important to have the conversation now about where you go if that tornado warning is issued. And again, like I mentioned, I would treat these severe thunderstorm warnings with the same intensity because winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour, that is enough to cause serious destruction. So again, this is heading near Cliff Mills here in just about 2 minutes around 10:46, into the Delaplane area by 10:51, into Marshall around 10:52. Here's a good locator in the area by W.G. Coleman Elementary School. This is going to be in the area around 10:54. So now is the time to, again, know the drill, know where to go, get to that safe small interior room away from windows, a basement if you can. And if you have time to grab something, a book, a blanket, anything to potentially cover your head with debris, always a good idea as well. So that is the latest on the tornado warning. Again, in effect until 11 o'clock this morning. Now just for Fauquier and Rappahannock County, they did pull back on Culpeper. Again, with the speed of these storms, that will continue to be the case. We'll see these warnings evolve very quickly throughout the day, and we will be with you through it all on air, on our WUSA9 app, and on WUSA9 Plus as we continue to get more information. But I do want to focus outside of the tornado warning for just a few minutes because, again, we still have this broader severe thunderstorm warning that is for winds that could potentially gust up to 70 miles per per hour. Right now we're seeing the strongest wind just to the north of that tornado warning. Again, no risk of rotation, but these are straight line winds, and that can be just as damaging, just as destructive. So this is why you want to be making sure you're taking all of these alerts seriously throughout the day today. Just to the south of Winchester, about to head into Millwood, is this line of storms that's producing that strong wind. Down just to the east of Front Royal, this is about to head into Upperville as well, right along 55. We're still seeing not only that heavy rain, some thunder and lightning, but wind as the biggest threat. So we have the tornado warning as well, with the strongest part of that storm just about to approach the Marshall area. So again, seek shelter if you have not done so already. I want to take you just a little bit farther off to the south of that tornado warning, down into Amosville. This is still an incredibly powerful storm. So here's kind of the broader perspective of the entire system that we're tracking right now. Again, that tornado warning in effect until 11 o'clock, but these storms moving so quickly, we very well may see that warning extended as we head into the later morning hours. So let me time out this entire line for you, encompassing both the severe thunderstorm warning and the tornado warning. Again, this is just round one of several storms that are going to move through over the next several days. I want to take this into parts of Loudoun County, even Fairfax County for you. Moving into Berryville around 10:54, Warrenton just before 11 o'clock this morning, into Haymarket around 11:07, Leesburg by 11:15, Manassas closer to 11:17, and Tuscarora by 11:23 this afternoon. So we do know that a lot of schools have already had those early dismissals, some even cancellations ahead of the severe threat this afternoon, but we're already starting to see those storms roll through. So a few reminders of knowing where to go as these tornado warnings are issued. And like I mentioned, I would still seek that safe space for severe thunderstorm warnings today as well, just given the strength of this wind. We're talking about potential straight line winds between 70 to 80 miles per hour. So the best and most important thing you can do as these tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings are issued is to avoid windows, doors, and outside walls. Again, you want to get to that small interior room. A basement is always going to be your safest place to be, but we know a lot of folks don't have basements, and that's okay. You just want to find that hallway, closet, or bathroom away from any windows and doors. And always a bonus, if you can, if you have time, grab something to cover yourself with in the event that you do see flying debris. Anything like a blanket or a book, even a helmet, a mattress, a little hefty, but if you can get it there, that'll help keep you safe as well as these storms continue to roll through. So here's again the wider perspective of everything that we're seeing on Doppler radar. And now even off to the south of that severe thunderstorm warning, we have another hefty storm developing just to the south of Culpeper. We saw storms move through this area a little bit earlier this morning, and we're seeing them fire right back up. So we'll get you closer to that tornado warning, still in effect until 11 o'clock for Fauquier and Rappahannock County, and we will be with you during the duration of this warning. We'll get you back to that regularly scheduled programming just as soon as it is safe to do so. And as these tornado warnings expire, we do, again, on the outskirts of that tornado warning, have the severe thunderstorm warning. That includes Winchester, Clark, Fauquier, and now Loudoun County as well. But it's really the tornado warning that we have our focus on right now. And you can see the storm again quickly moving through it. I do think the bulk of this storm is going to be out of the warned area right around 11 o'clock. So we will have to see if the National Weather Service does extend that warning. But right now, if you are, behind the warning just to the north of Amosville, you are in the clear. The storm has rolled through. So even though you are under that warning, I would stay in that safe location, but just know that the worst of the weather has already cleared your area. But we'll time out when the rest of this storm is expected to move through the tornado warned area. And again, these storms are moving just so quickly, around 55 to 60 miles per hour off to the north and east. So we'll drag that out for you here. Didn't get a good track on that one. So let's kind of reset and get you a better look at when you can expect these storms to roll through. Specifically for the tornado warned area, again, that is our most critical area that we are watching right now, but the severe thunderstorm warned area also still packing those potential straight line winds of 70 to even 80 miles per hour. So here, let's see if we can get you a better look at the timing here. Becoming a little bit more, tougher to track here, as the strongest part of that storm really does look like it's right on the edge of the tornado warning, but you can expect this in the Marshall area right around 10:56 at the time this tornado warning is set to expire, into Banneker Elementary, which is right outside of the warning as well. around 11:03. And again, that is under the assumption that the National Weather Service does not extend that warning. But I do want to show you the area that I was just referring to just outside of that tornado warning, which does still look like it is producing some pretty hefty potential straight line wind. I also want to check on the rotation within this storm. Again, this is our velocity product. It gives us a better idea of the direction that the wind is blowing. Whenever we see green butted up against red, that shows us that there is potentially tight rotation. Nothing I'm seeing right now that looks very suspicious in terms of rotation, at least not on that scan. Although, you know what I am going to do is step off camera for just a quick minute and check another product that we use outside of our computer data, just to be sure that we're not seeing any rotation, even though it doesn't look very substantial on that scan as well. But what I'm seeing more so on radar right now, yeah, that's just really powerful wind. I mean, should still be taken very seriously, but nothing in terms of rotation that is scaring me too much at the moment within that tornado warning. That being said, radar is still showing winds potentially 60 to 70 miles per hour. With this storm, not seeing anything closer to that 80-mile-per-hour mark, but that is still very much on the table, especially as we head into the afternoon. Again, this is just kind of round one of these storms that we're tracking, and I do think there will be an opportunity for the atmosphere to kind of destabilize. Sometimes when we see these earlier rounds of storms, that means the atmosphere stabilizes a bit, and that can help wane our severe weather risk. However, I do think we'll have time to see enough clearing between now and that next round of storms this afternoon, generally between about, say, 3 and 8 o'clock, to help kind of juice the atmosphere back up. And the biggest concern with today is just the amount of wind shear that's in the atmosphere, the changing wind speed and direction with height. That's what gives us spin in the atmosphere and the potential for these tornado warnings, which we are already seeing today. So even if we don't necessarily have as much instability as we would typically look for on a severe weather day, there is no shortage of spin in the atmosphere. It's not going to take much from these storms to get them rotating and potentially producing more tornado warnings. So between now and really 8 o'clock tonight is the window that we have to see these potentially rotating storms. So again, let's get you closer to street level here and show you where the worst of this storm is right now from the tornado warning perspective. Though you can see the strongest part of that storm is working its way out of the tornado warned area, still in effect until 11 o'clock this morning. So we will stay with you until then. We'll get you back to your regularly scheduled programming just as soon as it is safe to do so and come off of the air. But right now, right along 66, that is the worst of this storm. Right now, you can see all of the thunder and lightning kind of trailing off to the south and east, but between Upperville and Marshall, right along 66, if there is potential rotation in this storm, which again, right now, my bigger concern is still that straight line wind, say gusts to 60 to 70 miles per hour. It is right over Delaplane. So if you are in the area, I hope you are already in that safe location. If you have loved ones in the area, call them, text them, check in, make sure everyone is where they need to be as we get through the very last of this tornado warning here, just over the last 5 minutes or so. But of course, if the National Weather Service does extend that warning, we will stay with you through it all. Now, I do want to take you just to the north of this warning, just a little bit through the severe thunderstorm warned area, because that is in effect until 11 o'clock this morning. It encompasses a much broader part of northern Virginia. This stretches from just south of Winchester. In fact, it includes rather the city of Winchester until 11:15 this morning. It includes Clark and Fauquier County as well. So we've already discussed, where to go. That small interior room, a basement will be your best bet, but anywhere away from windows, think hallway, closet, bathroom. That is where you need to be as we continue to get through these storms here. And cannot emphasize enough, this is just round one. We are in for a very active weather day. That is why we have this weather impact alert in effect. So you can see all of the areas under that yellow box. That is the severe thunderstorm warning that we're tracking. But even back just to the north of Berryville, we're starting to see that heavier storm move through there. I do not think this line of storms will impact the 95 corridor. I think for the most part it is going to stay just off to the west, but don't worry, we will see storms across the entire area as the rest of the day goes on. So we are on the very final minutes of this tornado warned storm that is in effect until 11 o'clock. So again, if you are really south of 66 now, especially south and west of Marshall, the strongest part of the storm has cleared your area. I would still stay in that safe location until the storm has completely passed. But my bigger concern in terms of the tornado warning right now is really right in between Upperville and Marshall. Again, radar data not really indicating any tight rotation, but still powerful winds. So even if this storm is not rotating, we're still looking at winds gusting anywhere from 70 to potentially 80 miles per hour. That warrants staying in that safe location until this storm has passed. And that's going to kind of be my messaging throughout the day today. Even when these severe thunderstorm warnings are issued, we could see them considerable, possible, even destructive. Those are tags that the National Weather Service will put on these storms to indicate the severity of them. And I always say, as soon as you get that criteria, that is enough reason to seek a safe location, just as you would for a tornado warning. And that is why so many schools have issued early dismissal. Some have even canceled for the severe weather today. So back into Berryville, you're not under the warning, but you've got a hefty storm moving through your area. Millwood as well, a little bit of thunder and lightning there, in addition to the heavy rain and strong wind. Sometimes we talk about multiple threats with these severe weather days, and sometimes that includes flooding. That is not the concern today because these storms are just moving so quickly. Rather, the bigger threat is going to be the wind, whether that comes in the form of straight line wind or rotating storms with tornadoes. Could also potentially see some small to moderate sized hail. That is not the biggest concern throughout the storm threat today, but still something we'll be watching very carefully. It looks like they did put a new warning on that storm just off to the south of Culpeper. We'll zoom in a little bit closer there and show you for our friends from Warrenton down into Culpeper, again, where we see that new severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah, and that includes parts of Culpeper, Fauquier, Orange, and Spotsylvania. That is in effect until 11:45 this morning. And a lot of these severe thunderstorm warnings that are getting issued are more so for the wind threat than anything else. Winds potentially gusting 70 to 80 miles per hour. That's what you're going to hear us talking about throughout the day today. So that is that new severe thunderstorm warning. And that's a pretty hefty storm stretching from just to the north of Louisa back into Culpeper. And what we'll be looking for throughout the day today are these kind of bow echo signatures. We do see a straight solid line of storms there, but anytime you can get more of a bow signature to it, think of one side of a parenthesis. That's what we look for when it comes to those potentially damaging winds. But that is still in effect until 11:45. That will remain in effect as well. I do not see the National Weather Service canceling any of these earlier. In fact, the trend that we've seen, especially for this cluster of storms back into Northern Virginia, is for them to extend them, which is exactly what they have done. We have a new tornado warning now in effect for Fauquier, Loudoun, and Prince William County. This is in effect until 11:30 this morning. So they have adjusted that tornado warning to include kind of this cell that we're tracking just to the north of Warrenton. And again, you see so much of that warning extends farther off to the north and east. That's because these storms are moving so quickly. They want to make sure there's plenty of preparation time. So if you are within the tornado warned area, that includes Fauquier, Loudoun, Prince William County, until 11:30 this morning, you need to make sure you are seeking that safe location. This signature looks a little bit more concerning to me than the initial tornado warning that was initially issued did. And so I do want to give you first a closer look at kind of the street level area so that you can make sure you're getting to that safe location. This is just about to cross 55 into the Beverly Mill area, but that little kink in radar, that's what looks a little bit more concerning to me. And that's a feature we didn't see on that other tornado warning that was issued and is still in effect for the next 30 seconds or so, but still not getting a great velocity scan there. Again, what I just put on is our velocity product. That is a wind product, and it can show us the direction that wind is blowing, and that's what gives us that indication of the potential if these storms are rotating. So this is that new tornado warning in effect until 11:30. I'll give you a closer look at the warned areas within these counties and time this out for you as it moves off to the north and east. And again, cannot emphasize enough, these storms are moving so quickly, moving off to the north and east around 55 to 60 miles per hour. So I know a lot of that box looks empty, looks like there's not much going on, but that's because the storms are going to move through just so quickly. The National Weather Service giving plenty of heads up time. So again, it's that notch right over 66 that has me a little concerned. So if there is potential rotation in this storm, that is where it would be. Want to show you a traffic camera here now of Marshall, Virginia. Again, this is included within that warned area. Looks like that traffic camera. Okay, now it's moving now. Just seeing a lot of heavy rain in the area. Can't see anything really from the sky, but that's what we'll be watching carefully. We'll get you back to the maps here and time out this warning for you. Again, this one does look a little bit more concerning. In fact, I am going to step off camera for just a quick second to check one of those radar products that we look at more behind the scenes to show us where there is potential rotation in this storm. And I do see a little kink on the reflectivity. That's the product you're looking at here. But in terms of a velocity couplet, not seeing a great reading on that. Let me check another one of our radar sites to get a different scan here. But regardless of whether there's rotation or not, that storm is producing winds likely 60 to possibly 70 miles per hour. So this is going to move into the Beverly Mill area, kind of on the southern side of that warning. Around 11 o'clock right now, moving into Haymarket around 11:04 into Aldi, kind of right in the middle of this warning, closer to 11:10 into Evergreen Mills, Virginia by 11:45 over by Sterling, over by the airport around 11:21 rather, and into Elmer, Virginia around 11:24. So again, if you have loved ones in the area, make sure you are checking in, make sure everyone is in that safe location. You can see though, this is one heck of a storm, line of storms stretching through so much of northern Virginia. In fact, I'll give you an even wider perspective here. They did expand, it looks like, that severe thunderstorm warning now to include Loudoun County, part of Montgomery County, back into Frederick County. So the National Weather Service, of course, anticipating these storms as they continue to move off to the north and east around 55 to 60 miles per hour. Again, that speed is always good news and that it does mitigate the flood risk and that it moves through very quickly. However, the downside there is that it kind of shortens our lead time for these severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings. That's why you see so much of a tornado warning kind of expanded beyond the actual storm itself. But let's show you a closer look here at that tornado warning again, because this is our latest warning that is in effect until 11:30 this morning. And then we'll give you a wider perspective because these severe thunderstorm warnings also needed to be treated like tornado warnings. I would seek that safe, small interior room away from windows. Go to your basement if you have one, because even if these storms aren't rotating, they are still packing winds, straight line winds between 70 to possibly 80 miles per hour. That is enough wind to bring down significant tree damage, and that's why you need to make sure you are finding that small interior room. So again, this latest tornado warning in effect until 11:30 this morning for parts of Fauquier, Loudoun, and Prince William County is continuing to work its way off to the north and east. The strongest part of the storm right now just around the I-66 corridor. So we hope that folks are heeding the warnings and staying off the road if possible, but we know that is such a heavily trafficked area. So let's first time out this tornado warning for you and take this up into parts of Loudoun County, where that storm is going to move into Aldi here right around 11:12. So you have just under about 9 minutes to get to that safe location into Evergreen Mills, closer to 11:17. Here's a point of interest that a lot of folks know: Commander's Training Camp, Commander's Park by 11:30, and into Poolsville around a similar time if that storm continues to extend into parts of Montgomery County. So that is the latest on the tornado warning, but I do again want to give you that wider perspective and show you the entire area, because we are tracking powerful storms, severe thunderstorm warnings encompassing much of northern Virginia and now into parts of northern Maryland as well. So let's show you the new severe thunderstorm warning that was issued. Again, this part is just off to the north of that tornado warning, and you can see the strongest part of this storm. I'm going to kind of just take you down and show you where we're seeing that potentially damaging wind, because that is what these severe thunderstorm warnings are being issued for. It is the wind threat, winds gusting 60 to possibly 80 miles per hour. Most of these storms right now are producing wind between about 60 to 80 miles per hour. So from Martinsburg down into Charlestown, strong wind. And what we'll be looking for in these storms as they develop throughout the day today are kind of these kinks in radar. That's what we'll be watching for in terms of the tornado threat, where we get these little kinks that can indicate possible rotation within a storm. But we'll also be looking for those bow echo signatures that we were talking about. That is where we run the real risk for winds gusting 70 to possibly 80 miles per hour. We're already seeing enough evidence for some strong straight line winds just to the east of Berryville, about to move into Purcellville, just clearing parts of Upperville as well. In fact, I want to see if I can get you a little closer here, get you some street names that might sound familiar, where we are seeing the strongest part of this wind right now. You can see over by Airmont, Snickersville Park, Turnpike rather. That is where we're seeing the strongest part of this storm. We'll take you farther off to the south and east, where we have the tornado warning in effect over by Philmont, St. Louis Road, where you see that deep shading of red. That is the strongest part of the storm in terms of the wind perspective. So yes, you're seeing some heavy rain, but also potentially damaging wind moving through Middleburg right now. And then we get into the tornado warned area over by Halfway and Halfway Road. If there is potential rotation within this storm, it would be in that area about to approach the Bull Run Mountain Estates area. That is just off to the, that's actually right in the middle of that tornado warning. But down into Warrenton, the severe thunderstorm warnings continue to extend right along Route 15 down into parts of Culpeper. So we'll show you what's going on down there, because that is also one of our newer severe thunderstorm warnings that extends down into Louisa. And you can see again, that one primarily a wind threat. That severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 11:45 this morning. It's for Culpeper, Fauquier, Orange, and Spotsylvania County. And all of these storms kind of moving at a similar pace off to the north and east, around 55 to 60 miles per hour. So we'll time out that severe thunderstorm warning for you, although this one does appear to have a little bit more of an easterly track to it. Some of the other storms are moving pretty sharply off to the north and east, but let's time out this line for you as it continues to move through that warned area into the Dan area around 11:15. So you have just a few minutes again before this storm starts to worsen in your neighborhood, into Bell's Crossroad around 11:17, into Hartwood around 11:23, and into Chancellor, Virginia around 11:23. And this is kind of what I was talking about in terms of that bow echo signature. You can see it looks like half of a parenthesis there, stretching from parts of West Virginia all the way down into Northern Virginia. So I do want to give you a closer look at that tornado warning. Looks like the National Weather Service is already kind of trimming it back, just given the speed at which these storms are moving. And I am going to show you a little bit of a wider perspective of it, because as I look back into parts of Loudoun County, I mean, the heftiest part of that storm actually does look like it is outside of the tornado warned area. But we will start with the warning, because again, this is where the National Weather Service has seen enough indication to warrant that warning showing potential rotation in the atmosphere and at a minimum damaging winds. We're talking winds gusting anywhere from 60 to 70, possibly up to 80 miles per hour. That will be the threat as we head throughout the afternoon. But let's start off with the tornado warned area as it moves up into much more populated areas. We're talking about major areas with a lot of businesses, a lot of schools, especially as we get closer to Sterling. This will be in the Evergreen Mills area around 11:15 this morning, into Sycolin around 11:12, into Commander's Training Camp around 11:24, and closer to 11:30 there in Sterling. But outside of that tornado warning, I am rather concerned about the area just off to the north. Now, this is included in that severe thunderstorm warning, and as we've been mentioning, these severe thunderstorm warnings should be treated like tornado warnings, with that potential strong straight line wind gusting 70 to even 80 miles per hour, stretching from Charlestown down into Upperville. Looks like we could see a potentially stronger signature there just to the north of Charlestown. Now, we have meteorologist Grace Thornton in with us as well, her second week of work here, and we are getting her right to it. Want to check in to see if you've seen anything in terms of damage reports.